Hello, this is Gary Auden, and I'm bringing you an Educast, Profit from Call Recording, sponsored by OrecX and Telecom Reseller. Today we're going to be talking to Craig McHugh, Vice President of OrecX. And those of you may have thought about call recording and dismissed it. You can really make money at this, and there's a lot of value and benefits from call recording. So as we always do, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. First of all, the VoIP services market is growing a lot more than you might think, and there's a lot more companies getting into the business who actually could make money from call recording. We'll discuss call recording itself, the tools you need, why you need an architecture, not just a black box. Craig is going to provide some pitfalls to avoid, and why call recording is really good for communication service providers. So let's start off with the first slide, corporate VoIP services market. Why is that growing so much?
Well, the VoIP market is growing mostly because traditional telephony is proven to be cost prohibitive versus the VoIP services that are available today. You know, it is growing, but it's a competitive market with pricing pressure for the companies that are offering a basic commoditized VoIP service. So what companies need to do is find differentiators to separate themselves, but also increase revenue, increase margin. Most business VoIP solutions offer a basic user-based recorder just to check the feature box. And this was fine back when most clients of hosted VoIP tended to be 20 users or less. But now that large firms are deploying hosted VoIP, they often require enterprise-grade functionality from their recording solution. And this can be the differentiator that you need to win the bigger deals.
You were talking a moment ago about why. Why do we record calls? It's not just simply for call quality, it's a lot of other things.
Companies record calls for three main reasons: compliance, performance, and risk. We call this CPR. Achieve compliance, improve agent performance, and provide risk mitigation. The results you see here in this chart kind of bear out that reasoning. Compliance is definitely the hot issue in recent years, but improving agent performance continues to be a strong reason behind why companies record.
Let's move on to the next slide and talk about where can it help. And you talked about agents, but there's other reasons as well.
Well, here you see some of the specific important objectives that can be improved or achieved with call recording. But really, when you read down through them and where it can help, it all comes back to compliance, performance, and risk. That's where all of these kind of areas really touch on.
You're talking in a sense about benefits of call recording, and I can see the call center manager benefiting, but I see a number of others on this slide here as well.
Well, because concerns for those three main reasons, compliance, performance, and risk, touch virtually all departments, every department, every position within the company can benefit from call recording.
Looking down on this list here, a lot of people don't think about marketing and sales as being benefit, but what surprised me is you show the fraud officer here. How does that help us?
You know, fraud and compliance are two big and growing concerns for organizations. Companies that are concerned with fraud want to have voice record of those interactions, so they might be able to do voice matching to detect whether or not the speaker is actually the customer with that specific account for a bank account or an investment account, for example.
You point out here in the next slide that there's a lot of opportunities, not one or two. Would you enumerate some of those, please?
Well, you know, improving service quality, dispute resolution, kind of the resolving he said, she said disputes, again, compliance. You know, companies want to record their calls to meet these needs, but recording traditionally has been a restrictive proposition. It's expensive, difficult to install. Being able to meet your business needs and client needs with an enterprise-grade recording solution shouldn't be difficult and expensive to do. Yeah, and what OrecX does is we allow you to choose recording as a cloud service or deploy it on-premise in your network. In either case, it's affordable, easy to use, easy to maintain. And we feel we truly offer a unique value proposition within the call recording market.
It would seem to me that when you look at the call center specifically, there's a lot of tools we could have out there, what are the tools you think are most important for us to have?
Well, looking at this list, you can see there at the bottom, total recording and quality monitoring directly related to call recording. Kind of reinforces the need to have an enterprise-grade recorder. But when you look at the list in total, there's other areas here: mobile phone recording, speech analytics, screen capture, screen recording. They all have a dependency on a recording solution.
One of the points I think is important, especially for service providers, is they need to drive revenue, but they also need to differentiate themselves from other service providers. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, expanding your service is definitely a way to differentiate yourself. It allows you to increase sales. If you have an enterprise-grade recording solution, this allows you to do that. A basic recorder that just checks the feature box won't differentiate your solution from the competition.
How can that help me increase sales then?
When you get in front of these customers that have kind of a complex recording requirement, you're going to have your competitors going in there with their very basic user-based recording solution. For you to be able to go into that deal with a recording solution that has a very expansive feature set, it's going to differentiate you, allow you to win the deal, and make more money.
The last line on this slide says the word sticky, and I could think of the word loyalty, but I could also say the word retention. How does this help me keep my customers?
Well, again, just talking about the expansive feature set that an enterprise-grade recording solution is going to present to your customers. If they ever look at moving to a different telephony platform, they're going to look at recording as one of their requirements. In many cases, they're going to come down to certain features and looking at the recording solution that another VoIP telephony platform might have could very well be just a very basic user-based recording solution, and it's not going to meet the needs of their call center.
You mentioned the word architecture, and then you mentioned several things like premise, SIPREC, CALIA, other methods. I don't know much about the session recording protocol. What's important about that?
Well, there are several options for customers to deploy recording. It depends a lot on their telephony infrastructure. Many hosted VoIP solutions have what we call SIPREC or a SIPREC interface. And essentially, the advantages of SIPREC are listed there. It increased scalability, the ability to do auto provisioning. Really what it does, it allows for far less bandwidth intensive solution. You only need to capture the traffic that is set up to be recorded. So you're not having to capture the entire voice traffic as you would with a passive recording solution.
So this allows me to be selective and filtering.
Yeah, absolutely.
I promised at the beginning of this session talk about call recording pitfalls, and you list 5 of them. And I think they're very important to go through because otherwise you're going to just keep redoing and making the same mistakes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Number one, being able to try the solution before you buy it. That's something that all of our customers do. We think it's important, and hopefully everyone out there feels the same way. Ensuring it has necessary compliance capabilities. I spoke a few minutes ago about compliance kind of being a hot button issue here in recent years. A basic recorder is going to fall short in providing you the type of compliance features that you need. Not creating, saving specific search queries. This is the main reason why companies come to us to replace their current recorder. Their current recorder doesn't allow for them to do multi-criteria searching and filtering. They spend literally hours in many cases trying to find calls that are important to them. A fully customizable recorder allows you to create search rules unique to your needs. Not leveraging call recordings for benefit of the full organization. Having an open database, open file format, this allows you to fully and freely access your data and use it as you see fit. Really allows you to maximize how you utilize your customer interaction data. And the last one here, not ensuring the software has an open or a REST API for integration to your CRM. Most recorders make it difficult and expensive to customize the recorder to meet your needs. Our approach is open and flexible. We allow free and open access to your CRM and your PBX system to do any customization that you see fit.
Number 5, I think, is also important that you can easily integrate this into your entire business process, not just simply as an attachment.
Oh yeah, that's something that many of our customers do, and they find it really easy to work with our support team and our Open API and REST API.
Let's move on to the next slide about who benefits from call recording, and you have 3 items here.
As I mentioned earlier, every organization, every department within an organization can benefit from call recording. We've found that, with speaking with our over 250 business VoIP clients, that virtually every organization with over 15 employees has some piece of that company that would like to or needs to record their calls. And that's one of the key drivers for the growth of recording solution in the business VoIP market, is that as our customers go out and hit up their client base, they're finding more and more that virtually every client or tenant that they have has some part of the organization that they'd like to record.
One of the points I think is important for the listeners and viewers of this Educast is that you focus on CSPs, not just the broad market, but those who are trying to generate revenue.
Oh yeah. While we've deployed over 3,000 call centers, the bulk of our client base comes from our over 250 business VoIP provider clients. Our development roadmap is probably over 90% geared towards meeting the needs of business VoIP providers. We've had very sophisticated call center clients tell us, if we were to design a recorder, this is exactly what it would look like. So we feel really comfortable in saying that we've got an enterprise-grade recording solution that allows communication service providers in the business VoIP market to offer their clients exactly what they need in terms of a recording solution.
What impresses me about the next slide is not just about your features, but the number of companies you work with.
Yeah, we've deployed with virtually any VoIP platform that's out in the market today. Really can't think of one that's out there today that we haven't very easily integrated with, and in some cases have done some very extensive work to be certified by a lot of these platforms listed here.
I, as a CSP, always worry about investing and then how much money I can make back. It seems time to revenue is an important point of my thinking about using your technology.
As it says right here, we can have you up and running, in just a couple of hours. And you can be up and running today to meet your client needs. What most of our clients do is set up a trial, get familiar with the solution, then without having to devote really any resources and money, they turn it on into production the minute they have a client sign on. And that's that's the model that most of our clients do, because they don't have to devote a lot of resources, time, and money to getting our solution set up and working to meet their requirements. Most customers run a trial and have the product and solution ready to meet that client need when it does come about. But we can certainly, as it mentions there, if somebody calls us today because they have a client that needs recording, we can have them up and running by the time they go home for the evening.
You mentioned 2 products here, the total recording and the mobile recording. Would you talk about those, please?
Well, for the most part, they really are one and the same. Recording calls, whether they be on the network or in the call center or their mobile extensions, the ability to record those calls is a simple function of having that voice traffic pass through the network architecture. The solution is built for, and the roadmap is focused on meeting the needs of our business VoIP provider clients. And one of the increasing needs over the past few years has been the ability to record the mobile extensions.
I think on a separate page, though, quality monitoring is very much what's behind all of this to make it worthwhile.
Lots of our business VoIP providers have clients with call centers that use a homegrown agent evaluation tool. What they've come to find out is having an integrated scorecard tool to evaluate agent performance is just another differentiator that they can use to offer to their clients. So again, a really good differentiator. Kind of speaks back to that point about making customers sticky.
You mentioned the word architecture earlier, but I have a little trouble figuring out what you mean by architecture.
This slide here just depicts a basic service provider architecture utilizing the SIP-REC protocol. And as you can see, you've got the service provider environment down there at the bottom. We put a very basic non-proprietary server to capture the SIP-REC data that the service provider passes to us. And then really, from that point on, we're recording the calls, and the clients have simple web access to the recording files. Our hardware spec is very basic. It's non-proprietary. They can deploy in Linux or Windows, and it can be virtualized. And our service provider clients love the fact that they can deploy in Linux. Probably over 90% of our service provider clients deploy with Linux operating system.
One of my concerns as a service provider is when I'm done with you, what kind of support can I expect from you?
Well, hopefully the clients are never done with us. Once they're done installing the solution, we're always there to help out if they need us. Our installation is pretty quick, but really, once we've installed the client and got them up and running, we're there and available to do remote checkups, do upgrades when needed, and we can create and customize custom features within just a couple of weeks in most cases.
I like the custom features because it helps me as a CSP further differentiate myself from my competitors.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to present some information for you, though, our viewers. There's a good blog set at OrecX. They have ebooks and infographics and brochures. If you're interested in communicating with Craig, here's his contact information. And I'd like to thank you, Craig, for today's presentation.
Oh, thanks, Gary. Thank you very much.